Welcome to the Styling Advisory Podcast, Caitlin. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Now, this is exciting because you've just finished launching another round of your, why don't you tell everyone instead of me just making it up?
Yes, well, I am just off the back of launching my signature course. So I have two online programs. I have a ongoing monthly membership, and then I also have a signature 6-week course, which I launch 3 times a year. So launch week, for anyone who knows about launching anything out into the universe, is always super intense. Yeah. And I was just sharing with you that I completely lost my voice. So we've had to reschedule this podcast because of that. I was just go. But yes, so I've just finished launching that, and we actually kick straight into it tonight.
Beautiful. And I know that I follow your social media content, and you do a lot of videos which require your voice. So I'm not surprised that you ran into trouble. But let's take a step back and start with your styling journey to date. And then I'd love to dive into the membership and the course to understand how you've been able to launch those products and what type of marketing activity has actually worked for you and your particular audience.
Sure. So I have about 7 years, my 7th year as a personal stylist. I started out just in retail after uni, just on the shop floor, which I think actually is great experience for any stylist to really understand so much about of marketing and about the customer journey and the customer experience and merchandising. So anyway, I think that it is a really great place to start.
Absolutely.
So powerful. And then I have done everything from television styling, working with brands exclusively and doing branding photo shoots, one-on-one personal shopping and styling, wardrobe edits, all of that. And that really led me up to the start of last year when I was sick of essentially trading time for money. And as a mom of 2 young kids, didn't have that much time to trade. So I felt incredibly capped with the amount of clients I could take on while still being a mom to 2 young kids.
Yeah. And I think that's the issue for stylists that are at a particular stage in their business journey where you're almost at capacity with client appointments, whether that's servicing clients in person or online. And the question then becomes, well, how do I then scale or grow my revenue without, having to bring on staff? So the option obviously is to start running courses or memberships and implementing recurring revenue support services, which I think is fantastic. And it's interesting that you started at the beginning. Oh, yes, you go.
No. I was agreeing with everything you were saying.
Oh, yes. Well, I know that you launched at the beginning of last year, which was the wonderful timing of COVID. So I'm interested to know, to begin with, launching a membership for clients around that March, April period of the pandemic, did that affect the messaging that you used? And do you think that was actually a catalyst for people to say, listen, we're going to be locked down, I'm bored, I'd love to get some styling advice and do something with my wardrobe while we're in lockdown?
Yeah. So I launched March 1st, so right before COVID, which ended up being a blessing in hindsight. But as I said, I kind of got to the start of last year and felt that I was at capacity with clients, but really wanted to scale and grow, and stumbled upon this idea of a membership. And at that time, there weren't a lot of stylists that I knew of that were doing this kind of online program. But you know how it is, you get an idea, then you see more and more. And then I, had some great mentors who were in the membership space, not in styling, but for their own businesses. And it was exactly that piece of that recurring revenue, because any stylist out there who works freelance will know that you've got some great months and then, you're really in demand, and then some really lean months. And it can get really tricky to project what your year looks like, your month looks like from a revenue perspective. So I had this idea to launch this very affordable membership program. I already had quite a significant social media base, which I felt confident then to launch to, because I had this really warm audience who had followed me for many, many years. And so launched March 1st, and it was great. And then COVID really kind of got scary around April. And then I think people fell away a little bit because suddenly we were very concerned about finances. Can I afford it? Am I going to lose my job? Things like that. So for a little period, my messaging wasn't in line with how people were feeling. And then as it looked like it was going to be a much longer process, I think that emphasis on community was what really saw the upswing in my membership, because it was at a time when women were just looking for that community, and we didn't have it in the traditional ways that we were used to with social outings, sporting events, anything that you were involved with outside of the house suddenly all fell away. So whilst it is around style and fashion, it's 100% the community element that keeps the women there.
Which just goes back to that old sales concept of it's not the product or the service itself, it's how that product or service makes you feel. And it's such a relevant sentiment for stylists in the service industry. The way you make your clients feel, or the way you make your group or your subscribers feel, is ultimately more important than the styling advice itself. If they feel accepted, supported, confident, safe, that power and that goodwill is much more of has much more of an impact on your revenue. And I say this because I've had conversations in the past with image professionals that suffer a little bit from that imposter syndrome of worrying that, what if my advice isn't right? What if I'm not fashionable enough? What if I don't know enough? And I always say to them, it actually does not matter. It matters more that you make them feel safe and connected and nurtured. And your community is the perfect example of that in action. Actually, that sounds like I just meant that you don't have any styling ability and it's just the community. What I mean is, as you said, the point before, it's the community that they're looking for.
100%. And they'll join for the styling advice, but they stay for that community of women. And as women in the styling industry would know, it's such a personal thing, and women are so vulnerable to say, hey, I need help, or hey, I don't feel comfortable in my body, or hey, I'm really struggling with my wardrobe. It's such a position of vulnerability for women to do that. So they will always find the stylist that they trust and have that connection with in order to do that. And so it's also why women who are stylists who are concerned about competition in the industry, it doesn't matter, like you said, because women will find their tribe, and it's such a personal vibe thing. So, there could be another stylist right down the street doing exactly what I'm doing, but she will attract different women to what I attract because it's so personal.
I agree. I sometimes say it's subjective, the tone, the way you deliver the advice, whether you're someone that sort of says, I'm going to take control of your wardrobe, or whether you're more like the girl next door, sort of gentle approach. It's so subjective. So there's a little bit like looking for the right therapist. You've got to have that emotional connection and feel safe, because you are the most vulnerable with that stylist, particularly when you're going to say, okay, I'm going to let you look in my closet, which I know for a lot of clients on the client side is a really scary space to be in, let alone I'm going to show you what I look like in my clothing. So I wanted to ask, do you find then when you're promoting your Style Squad, your membership program, do you feel it's more important to communicate the benefits of the community aspect, or do you feel that it's more effective to communicate the tangible sort of technical styling support that they receive? What do you think has moved the needle more in terms of people signing up?
I think because now that I have the course as well, when I first only had the membership, I would focus on what you're going to get, what the transformation is going to be. But as it's grown and as the community is the biggest draw card, I tend to focus on that. And I have a beautiful bank of, testimonials and client reviews, I guess, member reviews, which I can share, which is that really important social proof. And I think that's what attracts new members, is kind of wanting in. They want in on that squad. They want to be part of the squad. They want that exclusive information that's in there. So it's that exclusivity and the social proof. And then when I launched the course, because it's very clear, it's 6 weeks, this is what we do, these are the modules, this is the transformation promise. And so that comes from more of a technical marketing side.
And so who is your niche client actually? Who are you trying to attract to your squad and your course?
So the beautiful thing about online, and I guess the number one reason I was drawn to creating it was because I really wanted to support more women. I really found that there's this idea that working with a personal stylist is super exclusive, really intimidating, very expensive. And I wanted to kind of discount all of those things. And we've got women from, just out of uni to grandmas who have been through menopause, don't know what to do. And so everywhere in between. The thing that I'm most proud of in the squad is that everyone is so different. So it's not like hundreds of mini Caitlins. They're all so different. But it's really women who are in a transitional period of their life and feeling stuck and lost. So those are the women that I attract, and that transition point could be 3 babies in 5 years. It could be menopause. It could be marriage breakdown. It could be COVID kilos. Body shape has changed through this. Working from home, I don't know what to wear. I've always nailed my corporate wardrobe. But now suddenly in this landscape of COVID, working from home, I don't know what to do. So it's really women in that transitional period looking for some support.
And if we compare that these are women that are looking for support. Now, that transitional period will continue to happen, but I'm interested to know your thoughts on whether they're looking for a solution that's more one-on-one, personalised, or whether they're actually the way that the support is provided during this transitional period, is it more appealing because it's in a group format?
Good question. I think I wouldn't think that they are seeking out a group format to start with, but I think that they have built a connection with me via social media and the amount that I put myself out there. Like, it's very common for someone to follow me on Instagram for 2 years and then jump into, the 4th launch of the course. And I just think you've been like, I've had to prove myself so long, but it's what happens. And I think that they just want to then get the service from me. And I rarely offer any one-on-ones now. So really the squad or the course is the way to do it.
That I'm just going to reiterate that point for everyone listening who's also listened to my other interviews. The buyer cycle is long, people. 2 years to get from the awareness stage, just discovering you, to I'm ready to buy. So for everyone that's panicked because they didn't hit 6 figures in 6 weeks or something ludicrous like that, the buyer's cycle is slow and it is individual for everyone. It might take 2 years. And that's so interesting to remember, because Caitlin, you obviously present beautifully. You have incredibly structured programs. You're a successful stylist in a creative and competitive industry. And yet it still might take 2 years for a client to convert in your cycle. So I think it's just, I think that's inspiring and encouraging for everyone to understand that if you're not converting clients quickly, it's not necessary. That's not directly related to your worth as a professional. It's just that you need to continue to be consistent as you have. You show up and you present cohesive content that's, as you've mentioned before, it's either educational or inspirational all the time. So I love that point. Yeah. I'm so pleased to hear that.
Yeah, it sometimes shocks me, and people are like, oh, I used to follow you, when you had a blog, like before I had kids, and my eldest kid is 7 years old. And I think, wow, that's a long time.
It is.
You know more about me than anyone.
Yes, but the question comes back to they didn't have a need for you at that stage in terms of taking that extra step and booking in with you, or the service, the format might not have been exactly what they were looking for at that time. So it's really, really interesting. I think we're all very quick as business owners to judge what we're doing and our skills and let that imposter syndrome creep in, when in actual fact, the client's buyer journey, the sales cycle itself has a massive part to play. And now I know for you and your business, Instagram really has been your primary acquisition channel for clients, hasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think 90%, if not more, it definitely initially when I was just starting out came from Instagram. Now I have a few, like I do paid marketing with Facebook ads. I'm got like broader networks. And I think when that happens, and then just as the programs grow, there's more word of mouth coming in. But definitely for the first, well, all of last year with my online programs, but even before that, it was Instagram 100%. And I just think it's so important to leverage social media to build a personal brand. So I've built my personal brand. And that's why everyone who joins the Style Squad or we just had our first in-person meetup for the Style Squad, we did a little event and everyone felt like they already knew me, which is not to say that I share everything. I share a very, very small and particular part of my life, but I do it in a way that people feel that they know me.
Yes. And what I also would say is that little elements with regards to your content creation are also consistent and cohesive. The format of your how-to and getting dressed videos. And I think that consistency and obviously the cohesive visual aesthetic play a huge part, because we start to become familiar and we can start to, we know what to expect. And that principle, I guess, applies to all marketing, particularly email marketing. Whatever you're going to do, commit to it. And so people can start to look forward to it and recognize it and become familiar with the look and feel of your content. So they're building that relationship over 2 years until they're ready to convert.
Yeah, exactly. And it can be tricky. One thing that I struggle with, and the stylists that I work with struggle with too, is getting that balance between how much value do you share and how much do you keep for your paid clients. And that's something that is a really tricky balance to find, because you kind of want to position yourself as an expert. You want to say like, hey, look at all this stuff that I know, but you don't want then your audience to be like, well, why would I pay for that? Because she's just given me enough to get going.
Absolutely. And that's a really, really good question and a big challenge right now. And that would apply to all industries, certainly applies to marketing. But I guess the question is, when you're creating a membership or a group, how do you also add a sort of a high touch element or a personalized element, which then increases the value of the offer, so it is different to the education and inspiration you're providing for free on Insta?
Yeah. And I think that you just have to, one thing that I'm always super mindful of is that I never share anything that people have paid for. So I might share like the same outfit I shared on Instagram, I'll share it in the private groups. But if I create exclusive content for the group, I never share it publicly. And it's those tiny little things that the members who are across both platforms would notice. And it's really important to really support those relationships with members first. And, you know, it's like sometimes I'm like, God, that was a great video. You know, I'd love to share it with 15,000 people, but it's the respect that you want your members to feel that you have for them.
Yes. And so you've been blogging for a long time also. I'm interested to know your thoughts on the efficacy of your blog content versus your social media content.
Yeah, I started out blogging when all the, you know, blogging was quite big, and now I do not. Honestly, for me, the return on investment in terms of my time was not there. Video content 100% delivers so much more value back to me. I do newsletter, like email marketing. And newsletters. And I think that that's really important in terms of like relationship building and fostering those who are kind of like a warm audience but haven't jumped in yet. I think email marketing is great. But for me, blogging definitely fell away when video content really came to the fore.
Wow. It's incredible and really interesting. And again, I think it's great to just continue having conversations with other stylists, because there is no one recipe. It really is for everyone, for every professional. There is a channel and a medium that just works, that delivers results. When you are creating video content and you talk about ROI, return on investment, what metrics or data are you looking at to determine whether it's useful or not?
So I've got a few different things that will give me a direct result, whether it's video content that's used for Facebook paid ads, will give me a direct result with either a follower or a member. So paid or into the follower channel, which then is that slow burn. So Facebook marketing is where I can either get either of those results. Shareable content, if you can create content that's shared by your audience organically, is also a really great indication that you've hit the mark with what people want to see and what people want to share. And then I think, you know, Instagram's great now with insights. So you can see, have people saved this? Have they shared it? Have they liked it? Have they engaged with it? And I always, you know, take stock of my Instagram content at the end of each month, and like the information is there, what people liked, what they didn't like, what they want more of, it's all there with the engagement. But there's, you know, I put out maybe a video a day, like a reel a day or an IGTV a day. So there's no point in me sending out 30 videos that people are not engaging with. So I think it's really important to keep taking stock of are you getting the ROI on the content that you're working hard to put out there?
Absolutely. Those insights are vital. And I think that's probably a component that is missing from everyone's marketing activity list, only because it's an afterthought. The pressure is, let me just get something out there, and not, let me actually have a look at what works and see if I can continue to do more of that and less of the stuff that no one was engaging with, which is really great. And do you also find with your content that you'll get people that have been loving your video content but don't necessarily comment, but then they end up being a client? I'm interested to know whether that type of client is sort of silently digesting your content, but then they end up converting.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's always funny when someone's like, I've been loving this, and I think I've never seen your name at all, because anyone who's on whatever social media platform, but if you're on it a lot, you get to know. It's always funny how well you get to know these strangers. Just you recognize the names and they show up on your lives, or they comment all the time. And so you start to get to know them.
Yeah.
And so when a completely new name comes in and you think, where did you come from? And they'll say, oh, I've been on Instagram for a year, or, 6 months ago, my friend tagged me in your post and I've been watching. And so I wouldn't worry about, the numbers in that way, in terms of how many followers, how many comments, all of that. But I would just really focus on that consistency in showing up.
Such great advice, Caitlin. Thank you so much for giving us an insight into, the inner workings of your marketing engine, which is really fascinating. And thank you for also sharing the cycle, the 2-year cycle, which I think will make a lot of people feel better within the landscape of pressure to succeed quickly. I think it's still really important to understand that marketing, take away your paid ads, your paid platforms and content, that organic reach, it's a long process to attract, nurture, and convert the clients.
100%. And I think that's sometimes one of the biggest misconceptions about the styling industry is women think, I'm going to go out and get my qualification and then I'll just get clients. Like I'll just get clients and I'll work freelance and I can it's so difficult to get clients. That is one of the biggest hurdles, particularly when you're starting out. And if you don't have a website that people can find you, a social media platform where people can see you and see your face, they will just go and find another stylist who is putting themselves out there and who they can form that connection with. And it's as simple as that.
So true. So true. All right.
Sorry to scare any stylist out there.
No, it's not scary. It's true. And in fact, I think it is kinder on ourselves to be more realistic about the expectations of growth, expectations of revenue in the early stages, so you don't feel like a failure. I think it's encouraging to also say, keep up the job that you are doing, your day job, your part-time job, or your full-time job, because the first 2 years of any business are about understanding your brand and your client more, creating consistent content, understanding what they like, tweaking your services, and that process can't be rushed. And I think it just it makes everyone feel just a little bit better about themselves to know that.
Yeah, the first couple of years are super difficult, and I'm in a position now where I do have a successful 6-figure business, but for a long time, my money was pocket money. It was the money to do my nails. It was the money to, get my hair done. And then slowly it was, I could support and buy the groceries or, pay some bills. And it has taken full 7 years of all the different avenues that I've done, all the different programs, all the clients that it didn't go well. And then I had to pick myself up when, I couldn't find the right thing for a client. It is absolutely a journey, but I truly believe if you stay the course and keep building your experience, when you're ready to scale quickly, like I scaled to 6 figures in under 12 months, but I was ready for that growth because I had that experience. If I did that 7 years ago in my first year, I wouldn't be able to support it, to continue to scale it, to have the ideas and the experience to foster that and maintain it.
Yes, you wouldn't know what to scale because you'd just be taking a guess at a gamble at, okay, well, is this something that could work? Final question, very important, been thinking about it the whole time. How do you create shine with your curls on your own hair?
Super important question.
Yeah.
I think it is. I use Olaplex. Do you use Olaplex?
Well, I have it. I can never be bothered to do it because it means I've got to wet my hair, put it in, get out of the shower, have another shower. Who can be bothered? But do you mean level 3, that sort of leave-in conditioner?
I do it all now. So I do the shampoo and conditioner and then the leave-in treatment once a week.
Okay, I best be off to Hair House Warehouse. Everyone will ask, because your hair is a beautiful curl, but it's a curl with shine, which, as anyone with curly hair knows, it's almost impossible to do. It's the holy grail. So I've got to do what the people want me to do.
Yes. It is a game changer, but I know I try and do a fake tan with the leave-in conditioner, and then the hair, it's all got to be mapped out correctly.
Yeah, and this is what makes me think of that quote. Ginger Rogers did everything Fred Astaire did, but she did it backwards and in heels. You've grown a business with kids, fake tanning yourself, doing 72 treatments on your hair. Us women, we do work a lot harder, I've got to say.
Seriously. And the thing with a virtual business is that I show up every day. So every day I'm getting dressed, I'm creating content, or I've got virtual meetings. And so this pandemic life in activewear and loungewear, that didn't exist for me.
Nor me. Full face every day. Yeah.
Full
yeah.
Face,
The only thing that's relaxing is my legs, because I could be in tracksuit pants. I'm not, for all of you. I'm in Levi's, but there's nothing casual about COVID when you're running a business.
Yeah.